Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station. I'm Graham O'Brien, and some of the stories coming up in today's news. Storm hits region, peer rescued from island, Network Tasman trust deed changed, explained, and more. A call out to a fire at Fonterra plant saw 6 fire appliances along with water tankers racing to the plant in Brightwater on Thursday morning. Mainland understands that the fire service was responding to a small fire in a coal hopper at the plant. Hot oil is said to be leaking into the coal hopper, causing a lot of smoke. We also understand that the water mains in Brightwater had been shut off due to flooding in the area caused by the overnight storm. It was a busy night for the region's fire service with call-outs for flooding, rescue and fire. Heavy rain thrashed the Nelson Tasman region overnight, with 2 homes reported to have suffered flooding damage in the central city. Nelson Tasman Civil Defence issued warnings in the early hours of Thursday morning after intense rain across the region resulted in widespread surface flooding and trees down. Emergency services and council contractors were at site at the Maitai River to monitor it. The Civil Defence Emergency Operations Centre monitored the situation through the night, coordinating with emergency services and council staff. Earlier in the night, the Wairoa River reached its 20-year flood level with extensive surface flooding around the Brightwater area, and in Golden Bay, the Anatoki River reached a 10-year flood level, also causing surface flooding. However, the most intensive rain has passed and all river levels are slowly receding. The forecast for the next 48 hours from Thursday morning includes showers but not intense rainfall. Parts of Nelson Tasman were drenched by more than half a metre of rain over the past 48 hours. 528 millimetres was recorded in the hills behind Takaka. There were no evacuations across the region that Civil Defence were aware of. However, in Appleby, a couple and their 9-month-old baby were rescued from their stranded vehicle by boat from the flooded Waimea River late yesterday evening during the heavy rainstorm. The alarm was raised around 8:30 p.m. by friends of the group, who told a nearby landowner a vehicle was stuck in the swollen river after a 4-wheel drive outing to view the rising floodwater. Surf rescue and a jet boat were called to the scene, and the group was safely rescued from their stranded vehicle around 10:30 p.m. Police praised the efforts of the rescue teams who worked in very challenging conditions. 2 tourists must be thanking their lucky stars after rescue teams saved their lives, after eventually plucking them out of harm's way from an archway island off Wharariki Beach near Farewell Spit in Golden Bay late Wednesday evening. Police say the pair, a 30-year-old woman from Australia and a 28-year-old man from Croatia, got into difficulty while swimming in the area. They managed to make it to one of the Archway Islands where they were trapped by the incoming tide and weather conditions. When police arrived at the scene, the pair were clinging to rocks about 20 metres up a cliff. Landsar and Nelson Surf rescue crews responded. However, helicopters were unable to assist due to the conditions, and a Defence Force NH-90 helicopter was deployed from Ohakia. Just before 9 p.m, the pair was successfully winched to safety by the helicopter crew and taken to hospital in Takaka for hypothermia. Sergeant Mal York said the efforts of the rescuers in atrocious conditions was outstanding, and said that if the rescue effort on Wednesday night had not been successful, they could well have been dealing with a tragic loss of life. This was the second rescue in as many weeks in the same area. The no swimming warning signs in the area had been ignored in both cases. Last week we interviewed concerned Tasman resident Lou Solomon from Wakefield, who spoke to us about the proposed changes to the Network Tasman trust deed that will mean sidelining regulations set by the Commerce Commission. This week Chrissy Small spoke to Network Tasman chairperson Gwenny Davis about the proposal to change the trust deed.
We have in the studio today Gwenny Davis of the Network Tasman Trust. Gwenny's here to answer some questions about concerns that people have had, thinking that the trust is trying to fly under the radar, some changes to the trust deed. Gwenny's here to tell us exactly what that means.
Well, it's true that we're trying to change the trust deed, and I think some people have thought that we were trying to pull a fast one, because I think when we first notified what we were going to do, there was inadequate detail about what that meant. And then we provided sufficient information, but it came late in the piece. So that's not an excellent public consultation process, and I think we're the first to agree. In fact, after getting the submissions, we decided that we would attempt to do what we're trying to do and answer some of the concerns that were raised by submitters and run the process again. So we'll do it better this time, and I want to assure people that there isn't a fast one being pulled and that we have good reasons for doing what we're trying to do, but let's talk about that.
Right, okay. So, yeah, what are the reasons that you're trying to do this change?
Well, there are a great number of line companies around New Zealand who are 100% consumer owned, which we are, but they have all their trustees elected, and that means that the Commerce Commission is not at all worried about this extra layer of regulation which is imposed on us and the other big companies like Vector and so on. The reason that it's imposed on us is because we didn't qualify. We're 100% consumer owned, but one of our trustees is appointed. And so what we were trying to do is remove what is becoming an increasingly onerous intrusion of Commerce Commission regulation, which I expect a lot of people can understand, by making all of us elected and removing the appointed trustee. What will happen is that some regulations will be removed. The reporting won't change. We are incredibly regulated already, but one layer will be removed.
Right. So what is this layer? You talk about a layer. So what will that translate to?
Well, it's a complicated and detailed level, but it's to do with the auditing by the Commission and the ways in which the company has to report, and it's an onerous process. And we've been advised, and the company also believes, that from the 1st of April it's going to become more intrusive and more onerous. And frankly, in this changing times with new technology, I think the company needs to be able to concentrate on what it's trying to do best and not have that Commerce Commission breathing down its neck all the time. We understand that, but we don't want anyone to think that we're trying to become unregulated. That isn't the case. We're very regulated already. But there were concerns raised about price control and quality control, and we want to answer those concerns.
At present, there are 12 companies that are exempt from price quality regulation. Is that what you're going to become, one of those companies that will be exempt from price regulation through this change?
We would become like all those others, 100% consumer-owned trusts that the Commerce Commission is not worried about. Did you raise that question because you were thinking about companies that have bought into wineries and things like that?
Well, there has been some news in for example, Marlborough buying into a winery, the Lions company there, and that's going outside of its core objectives as a line company. Would the Network Tasman Trust be looking at doing something similar like that? Or?
Well, I think people are, they've seen what's happened in Marlborough and they're looking at us and think, crikey, what's going on? In fact, it isn't enough for us to say, look, we've never been like that, we're never going to be like that, we're never going to do that. That's all true, but you can't just rest on that assurance, so you need to be assured. And so what we're going to do when we go through this process again is build something in, maybe into the trust deed, maybe into the Constitution, maybe into the Statement of Corporate Intent, to ensure that the trust takes responsibility for the price control and the quality control, but on the subject of wineries and the like, it makes no difference. We've always been able to put money into anything we like, just like Marlborough, but we have a safeguard. If the company decides it wants to buy a new business, something completely new, and it's more than 3% of the value of the company's assets, it has to come to us, the shareholders, for agreement.
Right.
Now, we are no more keen than the company itself to go that way. You'll know that we give out nearly 20 million a year back to consumers in discounts and dividends.
You say the shareholders. Can you elaborate? Who are the shareholders?
Well, there are 39,000 households who are all connected to the line. They're the consumers and they're the beneficiaries. They can't all come along to a board meeting and elect directors, but they elect us to be the shareholders on their behalf.
Right.
And so that's the 6 of us, 5 elected and 1 currently appointed.
Okay. So basically at the moment, the trust can put funds into other organisations or businesses.
The company. If you're talking about wineries and things?
Well,
the company could do that, but it can't do that at something. If it wanted to invest more than $4 million in a new business, it would have to come to the shareholders. Now, we're elected, we can be dumped. if the directors want to do something that we don't like, we can do something about that too. We appoint them. So there's ways in which, you know, that kind of thing can be stopped. But I think it's the culture of the company. Network Tasman is not at all like Marlborough Lines, and it has no interest in doing that sort of thing. But people want more than just our say-so on that. We've never met the Commerce Commission's price path. When I say we, I mean the company. In the last 5 years, it's undercharged consumers $7.5 million. Could have put its prices up but didn't, because actually the whole culture of the company and the trust for a long time now has been about representing consumers, being in the lowest quartile of prices for a company of our size, giving as much money back as we possibly can. And as a consumer yourself, you'll know it's nearly a month's worth of power that comes back on your bill, and then a cheque at Christmas, which is terrific. And we want to preserve that. That's what we're about. And when we make these changes and go public again, I hope people will understand, and I also hope that we'll do it better.
Right. Okay. So basically, you're assuring the consumer that really there'll be not any change to what they're getting.
No change at all.
And they won't be asked to pay more to meet any other financial investments that the company may make.
Absolutely not.
Right.
No. We want to stick to our core business and do it well.
Sure. And if people like what you're doing, of course, you'll all get re-elected at the next election.
Indeed. We shall see.
Gwenny, thank you
very
for your
much.
time today.
Okay.
A resource-based economy is all about a world free of money. Richard Osmaston is the man behind the push to free ourselves from the chains of the almighty dollar, and was in Mainland studio to share his ideas and recent successes. Richard, you've got a resource-based economy workshop coming up. For those of us though who are uninitiated in this, can you tell us what resource-based economy is, please?
Yes, Graham. It's a totally new concept, a way of running an economy, both locally, nationally and globally. And I mean, the very basics of it is quite complex at the beginning, but actually ultimately very simple. But the basics of it are that we foresee a future where we don't use money at all, where everything is free and everything is voluntary. And it doesn't mean everything's unlimited necessarily, because we've just realised very recently we live on a finite planet, but we don't need to use a false value medium of exchange as our access to the necessities of life.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're going to be more interested in like the green dollar idea, or is that still using, I know once you've referred to it as a sticking plaster before.
Well, we have to take technology into account now, and the society that we are capable of living in doesn't need a false value system. We don't need to barter or trade or really have private ownership of the things that we need to sustain life anymore. And you know, green dollars and time banking were interesting concepts that started to move people away from, you know, conventional fiat bank-based currencies. But because we have accomplished such abundance now with the aid of modern technology, and we have such incredible knowledge of how the planet works, know how the solar system works, how society works and psychology, we don't need to have a competitive based structure anymore. And of course, with technological unemployment, which we see all around us, you know, just better and better tools for doing the things that we need to do, there really is never going to be enough jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, there's never been enough jobs, and that's only going to get more challenging as time goes on. And of course, technology's, you know, it's going to continue to take away jobs, and we have to change our point of view, and we can no longer access life through a job, which at the moment is the only way to have a life. Yeah. You know, if you don't have a job, you pretty much don't get a life. Really? You know?
That's true.
Yeah.
So at your conference, what sort of things are you doing? What are you doing at the conferences?
Okay, we've held quite a few.
The workshops.
Yeah, well, it's a conference and a workshop. There's a whole bunch of different movements around the country, around the world, with exactly the same premise. We need to get rid of the money system altogether, the competitive system. And there's a lot of other organisations around the world and around the country with exactly the same idea, but they've got slightly different guises, if you like. Some of them have got huge followings. And in New Zealand, you know, we do have the money-free movement, which is quite well established now. And we've had several conferences in the past, and this one in Victory on Saturday at 10 o'clock is open to absolutely anybody who wants to come along. And really, we're just developing the concept further and sharing it with more and more people. Sure. So it's an opportunity for more people to come and have a look and say, you know, spend a bit of time, how would this work? You know, surely aren't people greedy? Aren't they naturally acquisitive? Isn't the planet overcrowded? You know, all these kind of things, which are sort of basic fundamentals that we've strangely grown up with that may not necessarily be true.
Sure. I know 4 years ago I came back to New Zealand and I met you, and you seem to be the only one actually saying about the money-free society. But from that, you seem to have got a bit of a head of steam on now, and there seems to be you've got a bit of a more, shall we say, following behind what you've been saying for a number of years now. How is that what you found?
Yep, absolutely. We got off to a slow start, and of course, I mean, even 4 years ago, we started really about 7 years ago, and there were some movements in the United States that were coming up with the same thing. And of course, if you look at history, I mean, this concept has actually been around for, depends how far you want to go back, but for 95% of modern humans' existence, there wasn't money. Yeah. You know, it's an extremely recent phenomenon. But, you know, winding forward to the present day, yeah, we have had incredible exposure. Since I ran for mayor, particularly in the last local elections, I ran for mayor, and of course not everybody understood it. I got a few queer looks from a few people, but what we were amazed, one or two, but nobody laughed, you know, and what was previously considered sort of a wacko hippie concept is starting to become a bit more acceptable to the mainstream. And I think particularly in light of the fact that the mainstream, you know, the opposition, if you like, viewpoint is just dramatically failing us in every regard. You know, nothing else really works anymore, and people are becoming more and more aware of that. So having ran for mayor and had, you know, a very successful run of it, and found that the material stood up actually better than the conventional material, which I was, you know, I'd never tested it in that environment before. That only spurred us to do more. So we then formed the Money Free Party, which contested the general election with 5 candidates around the country. Again, not the greatest number of votes, but still more exposure, more working with the material, more conceptualization, realization. Sorry, that's a dreadful thing to say. And now we've got the local elections coming around again, and this time in October this year, we've already got 18 other mayor candidates around New Zealand who are standing on a money-free platform. And I mean, I'm going to conferences over the next 6 months. I mean, basically every 2 weeks I'm going to a conference around centres in New Zealand to meet these mayor candidates, share what we've learned at the previous conferences and workshops. And there's actually an American author, Troy Wiley, is staying with me right now. He's actually currently in Auckland, but he's coming back down for the conference. And he's written a book about the money-free world, and he's visiting all these mayor candidates and sort of tying them all together, and it's very exciting actually. And I mean, if one likes drawing graphs and curves and predicting the future, which is always a risky business, I realise, where we started out in 2007 with basically one person who was quite keen on this, you know, we gained a few more with each election, and now where we're going, you know, the curve is starting to rise very steeply. And there's only 4 million people in New Zealand. It doesn't take long for good news to travel very fast. And once you understand what a resource-based economy has in store for us, there is only good news. I mean, this is the best news that humanity has ever had, probably, which is a massive claim, I know. But in a time of such distress, you know, when everything else basically is going wrong in society, to come along with some news that is going to transform every single human being on the planet's life, I mean, basically, nirvana beckons, you know, and I mean, I'd love to have a pitch at 2020 being the time when New Zealand goes completely money-free.
Well, so if people are interested, come down to your workshop, find out a bit more about it, and then make their own decisions. The Resource-Based Economy Workshop and Conference has been held on Saturday the 20th from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. at Victory Community Centre. All welcome to attend at any time during the day, and of course, no money is needed. And finally, unsurprisingly, water restrictions have been lifted on the Waimea Plains with immediate effect. The Waimea River peaked at 1,300 cubic metres per second, which is the second highest recording since 1957. Monitoring of river and groundwater levels will continue for the remainder of the summer season. After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.
Are you looking for a scooter, walker, wheelchair, baby seats or pushchairs? Then come in and see the Nelson Region Specialist at Mobility for You, 269 Queen Street, Richmond, opposite the library. We have a huge selection of scooters, walkers, wheelchairs and accessories, along with a free booklet guide. We also provide a breakdown service if you ever get a puncture or a flat battery. We have fully equipped service vans to rescue you. Hi, I'm Robin Jordan and I invite you to call in and see the friendly team at Mobility for You, 269 Queen Street, Richmond, opposite the library.
We're the team at J-Car, right here in Nelson, 120 Hardy Street. Our shop is full of electronic items,
including security alarm systems, electronic components,
solar and power,
electronics toys,
sound systems, cables and much, much more. J-Car.
120 Hardy Street, Nelson.
Welcome me hearties to Smuggler's Pub and Cafe, famous for hearty meals, craft ales and a friendly service way. Sensational seasonal menus with meals all day and evening too, or sail in for a snack with special menus for young smugglers and you. Settle in for a jolly old time, relax and enjoy our award-winning dining and lovely fine wine. Decked out in an old worldly way, we're open 7 days. Book or come on in to 8 Muritai Street, not far from a beach, walk or swim. Phone 5464084.
Why would you want to pay as much as $1,000 for a single bed mattress when you can buy a high quality locally made mattress like this for as little as $220? And a queen size mattress could cost you in excess of $3,000, but at Nelson Beds you could have a mattress like this as low as $425. So why would you go out and spend a fortune on your child's bedroom when you can come to Nelson Beds and buy a complete single mattress and base set, a 7-drawer Scotch chest, a headboard and a 3-drawer bedside cabinet for as little as $979? So call and discuss our custom manufacturing options and local after sales service at Nelson Beds, Nelson's only bedding manufacturer.
Nelson Tire Center, great prices, great service. Buy your own Bryford trailer, all types, all sizes. See Colin Douglas for your tires and batteries.
Meet with John Pepper, the man who walked off his Parkinson's symptoms at NMIT's Ko-Fi Lounge, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m, Tuesday, March the 15th. Sit and Be Fit is on at the Victory Community Centre Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. at the Victory Community Church, 238 Upper Vanguard Street. School terms only. Fun while you get fitter, work at your level.
Victory 60 Plus is on Tuesdays at 1:30 through to 3:30 p.m. at 238 Upper Vanguard Street. You can join in for cards, games and a cuppa.
On behalf of the team here at Mainland Television News, thank you for joining us, and we'll bring you the latest news and events from around the region again tomorrow.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.
World War I was a defining period in our history, impacting greatly on the lives of people from the Nelson province. Memories of the First World War is an exhibition which will be displayed in a number of regional venues and is currently on at the Nelson Provincial Museum.
Welcome to Smuggler's Pub and Cafe, open 7 days a week with free parking all day. Our lunch menus have that fat old-fashioned flavour where we treat you like treasure with the food you'll savour. We cater for children, grannies and granddads too, with special rates and privileges given to the the elderly lunchtime crew. Our staff are friendly and kind and want to see you all come back time after time.
Daytime or evening, it doesn't matter. Give us a call on 546 4084 and we'll be happy to spoil ya.
We're the team at JCar, right here in Nelson, 120 Hardy Street. Our shop is full of electronic items,
including security alarm systems, electronic components,
solar and power,
electronics, toys,
sound systems, cables, and much, much more. JCar.
120 Hardy Street, Nelson.
Why would you want to pay as much as $1,000 for a single bed mattress when you can buy a high quality locally made mattress like this for as little as $220? And a queen size mattress could cost you in excess of $3,000, but at Nelson Beds you could have a mattress like this as low as $425. So why would you go out and spend a fortune on your child's bedroom when you can come to Nelson Beds and buy a complete single mattress and base set, a 7-drawer Scotch chest, a headboard and a 3-drawer bedside cabinet for as little as $979? So call and discuss our custom manufacturing options and local after sales service at Nelson Beds, Nelson's only bedding manufacturer.
I'm Larry London from VOA Music Mix, bringing you news on the hour from around the world, plus music 24/7, from the latest hits to those classic favorites to jazz on Saturday mornings, plus much, much more. You can contact us by Googling Mainland TV or follow us on Facebook. Cheers from the team at Mainland Radio 1 and VOA Music Mix.
Nelson Tire Center. Great prices, great service. Buy your own Bryford trailer. All types, all sizes. See Colin Douglas for your tires and batteries.
Why would you want to pay as much as $1,000 for a single bed mattress when you can buy a high quality locally made mattress like this for as little as $220? And a queen size mattress could cost you in excess of $3,000, but at Nelson Beds you could have a mattress like this as low as $425. So why would you go out and spend a fortune on your child's bedroom when you can come to Nelson Beds and buy a complete single mattress and base set, a 7-drawer Scotch chest, a headboard and a 3-drawer bedside cabinet for as little as $979? So call and discuss our custom manufacturing options and local after sales service at Nelson Beds, Nelson's only bedding manufacturer.
88.1 The Shed.